What if everything you thought you knew about changing your habits was wrong? What if self-sabotage wasn't a setback, but your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do? In this episode, we're talking about self-sabotage. If you've ever set a goal, felt really motivated, maybe even made some progress, and then found yourself slipping right back into old habits, this episode is for you. Welcome to Unwind, the podcast that helps you get out of your head and back into your heart. I'm your host, Blair Nicole, and I'm a PhD candidate in psychology, former trauma therapist, and self-compassion coach. This is your space to slow down, tune in, and rewrite the stories that are no longer serving you. So today we're talking about self-sabotage. But before we get into that, let's just take a quick breath together. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. And gently exhale through your mouth. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. And if it feels good, even shake out your hands a little bit. You don't need to be anywhere else right now, and I'm really glad you're here. So let's slow this down and really look at what's happening underneath what we call self-sabotage. Because most people think, if I really wanted this change, I would just do it. And I have been victim to that mentality as well. Let's see if this sounds familiar. You get really excited about making a change. Maybe it's January, maybe it's after a breakup, a wake-up call, or a moment where you finally said, I just can't keep doing this. You set an intention, you take a few steps, maybe you even start to feel proud of yourself. And then, almost out of nowhere, the old habits start to creep back in. You find yourself sabotaging, acting against your own interest, doing the thing you said you were not going to do anymore. And then, when that happens, one of three things usually follows. 1, you force yourself harder, which never works. 2, you give up completely. Or you beat yourself up and spiral into shame. And maybe some combination of all three of those. Then a little time passes, and the cycle probably repeats. This happens with relationships, with addictions, with mental health, work goals, boundaries. And most people eventually come to the same conclusion. Something must be wrong with me. I'm just bad at change. I must not want it bad enough. But none of that is what's actually happening. The reason this cycle keeps repeating has very little to do with motivation and everything to do with your nervous system. Because when we say, if I really wanted this change, I would just do it, we're assuming that change is a logical decision, and it isn't. Your nervous system does not operate on logic. It operates on safety and familiarity. Your system is constantly asking one question. What feels safer, changing or staying the same? And this is the part that's hard to wrap our heads around. Even when a pattern is hurting you, even when you logically know it's not serving you, staying the same can still feel safer than stepping into the unknown. Let me give you an example, because I've been here so many times myself. For a long time, I drank more than I wanted to. I knew it wasn't helping me. I knew that I was feeling sluggish because of it. I knew it was impacting my work, my relationship, just my general clarity and mental health. But walking away from it felt terrifying, because that habit wasn't just a behavior. It was helping me cope with feelings I didn't know how to deal with yet. It gave me confidence that I didn't have access to on my own. It was truly a part of my identity. I was the fun girl with all the interesting stories, usually fueled by alcohol, and letting it go felt like I was losing a version of myself that I wasn't ready to let go of yet. So even though I wanted to change, knew I should change, my nervous system was not sold on it yet. So I did eventually end up changing. I stopped drinking over 6 years ago, and I don't actually miss it at all anymore. But that change didn't happen because I was suddenly more disciplined or I forced myself harder. It happened when the fear of staying the same became greater than the fear of changing. When my husband began struggling with some serious mental health challenges, when he said to me, I need to stop or something terrible is going to happen, my system recalculated. I had already lost several people close to me due to mental health struggles. And in that moment, it became very clear to me that things needed to change. My priorities shifted. Suddenly, staying the same no longer felt safer to my system. That's what a lot of people call rock bottom. Not because we need pain to learn, but because that's often the moment the nervous system finally decides this is no longer sustainable. We see this with addiction, we see this with unhealthy relationship patterns, with physical health goals, mental health goals, financial goals. It's just the way the brain is wired. But here's the good news. We don't have to wait for things to become unbearable before change is possible. But we do have to stop trying to change in ways that make our nervous system feel threatened. We do need to stop trying to change in ways that obviously aren't working. We have to be willing to try it a different way. And that's what we're going to talk about in part 2 of this podcast episode. I'll walk you through a few simple techniques to work with your fear and help your nervous system feel safe so that you can make lasting changes without rock bottom, without willpower, force, or self-criticism. Stay tuned. If you're tired of feeling insecure or like you're never good enough, especially in love and relationships, this is for you. Becoming the love of your life is a self-paced course designed to help you stop chasing love and validation from people who can't give it to you and start building real self-acceptance, confidence, and self-love from within. You'll learn how to break the cycle of insecurity and finally feel safe, accepted, and good enough from the inside out. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about realizing there was never anything wrong with you to begin with. Learn more at blairnicole.blog/coaching or click the link in the show notes. So now you understand why this pattern happens. You know it's not because you're incapable or flawed. You understand why your system resists change, even when you really, really want it. But the next question is, what can you actually do about it? Here are 3 evidence-based, nervous system-informed ways to work with yourself instead of against yourself. Number 1, check in with the part of you that's resisting. When you think about a change you want to make, pause for a moment and notice what's happening in your body. Is there any part of you that feels resistance or fear about making the change? You might feel tightness, heaviness, an urge to distract or avoid. If so, none of that is actually a problem. It's just information. A part of you is saying, I'm not sure this is safe. I'm not sure if I'm ready. When you notice those feelings come up, instead of overriding it or trying to force it to feel differently, notice where it shows up in your body, notice what the sensations feel like, and gently ask yourself, what are you afraid would happen if I made this change? What feelings would I have to feel if I make this change? Then just get still and listen without arguing with yourself or trying to force yourself to feel differently. Don't judge what comes up. Just get curious and open. Your fears make sense. Try to offer yourself some validation and support. Of course you're hesitant. Of course you're trying to protect me. Let the part of you that's scared know that you're here and that you're safe, and that you're not forcing it, abandoning it, or dragging it somewhere scary. This is what builds self-trust and self-support. When you listen to yourself without judgment and stay present with the feelings coming up, instead of overriding them or trying to change them, your nervous system starts to soften and space opens up for the change to happen. Number 2, take small steps with compassion, not force. This is where most people get stuck. We tend to choose big, rigid, all or nothing goals. We tell ourselves we need to be stricter, more disciplined, more intense. But that approach often overwhelms the nervous system and leads to ego fatigue. That's the point where your system simply can't keep pushing anymore. This is something I learned the hard way. For a long time, I believed that hustling harder, working more, staying rigid, and holding myself to impossible standards and tighter rules would finally make change stick. And over and over again, it backfired. What actually shifted things for me was doing the opposite. I stopped trying harder and tried softer instead. It may not be a popular thing to do in our society. It may go against everything that you've been taught. But it works. It sounds like a paradox, but there is real science behind this. When your nervous system feels safe, it can move out of survival mode. It can move out of fight or flight. And that's the space where growth becomes possible. Self-compassion is not about letting yourself off the hook. It's what gives your system enough safety to stay engaged. Small, consistent steps taken with kindness are far more effective long-term than massive changes driven by willpower or shame. Number 3, reinforce the change emotionally. This is a piece that not enough people talk about. Change is often very uncomfortable at first. You've probably experienced that. But that means it doesn't naturally reinforce itself, not right away. Have you ever been to the gym trying to reach a workout goal, only to realize that it kind of sucks, especially at first? You can't see the progress yet, all you feel is sore muscles. So you have to find a way to reinforce yourself. We have to help the brain learn that this new behavior is worth repeating. So when you take even a small step towards your goal, pause. Notice how it feels in your body. Is there any relief because you took a step? A sense of pride or accomplishment? Even a subtle positive feeling of, wow, I did that. Noticing that feeling is essential. Habits don't form just by repeating new behaviors, contrary to popular belief. They actually form through behavior plus emotion. Emotion is what tells the brain, this matters, remember this. So instead of rushing on, let yourself feel those positive feelings for a few seconds. That pause speeds up rewiring and makes the next step easier to reach for. So, if change has felt hard for you, I want you to hear this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you, you're not broken, and you're not secretly failing at being human. Your nervous system learned how to keep you safe in the best way it knew how. And now it's asking to be brought along, not bypassed or overridden. When you stop trying to force yourself into change and start creating safety inside the process, you don't just build new habits, you rebuild trust with yourself. And that's where lasting change actually begins. Thanks for tuning in to Unwind, the podcast that helps you get out of your head and back into your heart. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs it. If you want to go deeper, you can get free immersive meditations at blairnicole.blog/unwind. You can explore online coaching programs at blairnicole.blog/coaching. And you can grab my book, 31 Days of Self-Compassion, on Amazon to start building a habit of self-compassion one day at a time. Everything I create is designed to help you remember you are enough and you already have everything you need within you to heal.